Yeah. That's the way I do it. Work all the time. Like, no, yeah, like giving out these. Like, wait, let me check.
Okay, hello. We are going to go ahead and get started to our July Historic District Commission meeting. First of all, we are going to start with a roll call. My name is Emily Walter. I'm the chair.
Nathaniel Johnson, committee.
Josh Hamilton, Commissioner.
Corey Parks, Commissioner.
Okay, and so we're missing a few people, but before the meeting today, we made sure we had a quorum, and we do. So we're going to move forward with this. Let's see. Do we have... Okay, so as far as previous minutes are concerned, there was some minutes that were mailed out about a month ago, but they weren't... normally we mail them out in advance, and so we are going to table the June 2024 minutes, or I need a motion to table them for review for next month.
I move as accepted, or move as proposed.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so next, any old business that we have? None? Okay, so we'll move on to new business. So new business, we're going to start with 710 Merriman Street. I'm going to have Tara from the city start it off, and then once she is done reading it, we will invite the first person up to discuss it.
Right, thank you. So 710 Merriman Street is located in Old Conway Transition Zone. The applicant is proposing to remodel an existing warehouse by adding windows, awning, brick veneer accents, and painting the metal siding. Also proposed is a sidewalk around the perimeter of the building. It meets the orientation. The lot coverage is uncertain, but it needs to be 80%. And so the applicant will need to provide some sort of verification that it is meeting the 80% lot coverage. The driveway parking, the parking areas should be paved. The proposal shows 33 spaces, which is in excess of the Conway zoning code minimum maximum. However, I believe the applicant will be speaking to this when they come up, has reached out to staff after seeing the staff report and explained the necessity and for additional parking spaces, and that they are going to be seeking an exception to that. The curb cuts, the width was not clear, but needs to be no greater than 24 feet. It doesn't look like there's any trees on the property. Landscaping will be required prior to any final of a building permit. The existing chain link fence, razor wire fence will need to be removed and replaced with fencing of a permissible material type. This project helps the complexity of form. We're getting some more actual design elements on it. The applicant is proposing to repair the metal building, trim and paint, add new thin brick wainscot with full height thin brick veneer and metal awnings. And there's only one unarticulated wall, which is the western wall, which is an existing condition and is interior to the site. And articulation of the other facades is improved by this project. And it also conforms to building entries. So staff recommends approval of the request with the following conditions: that applicable building permits are issued with appropriate licensure shown to the permits department. Lighting shall be inward, downward, and shrouded so as to stay within the bounds of the property. Utilities such as HVAC need to be screened from public view. Materials shall be as shown on the elevations. If substitute materials are used, they must conform to the regulations for the urban zone. Lot coverage may not exceed 80%. Curb cuts may not exceed 24 feet in width. For number 7, there is some changes, potential changes to the language depending upon additional planning staff review, which is prior to issuance of a building permit, the proposal may need to undergo site development review, which will require the applicant to provide planning staff with the deed showing the property in its current configuration for at least 10 years. If this deed cannot be provided, the property will need to be replatted. So the change was from shall to may need to undergo. Number 8, all perimeter screening must conform to Article 10 of the zoning code. Planters shall be placed along the perimeter of the building to lessen the otherwise bulky appearance where the structure meets the ground. Landscaping Planter boxes are appropriate if desired between the parking lot and Factory Street. Fencing shall be metal, brick, or stone. Chain link razor wire fence is not permissible. And for the parking, as I had mentioned, the applicant maybe will be speaking about their desire for additional parking spaces, which would necessitate the continued use of head-in spaces along Merriman Street. Staff would prefer that they are angled. And as I said, the applicant may also wish to discuss the increase in the maximum number of spaces. So after the discussion, we can go back to this number 11.
Okay. So who is here to speak in favor of this project? If you can step up and state your name and your home address.
My name is Gene Salter. I live at 1535 Willow Creek Drive in Conway. And Mr. Rankin and I are the owners of the property in hand. We have been owners of it for in excess of 3 years at this time. These structures were, the original part of it was built back in the 70s. It was a roofing and sheet metal company. In the 80s, it went to M&M Ice Plant. It was then used as a plumbing supply location. And then Robert Bailey Electric acquired it, and they've had it since early 90s until I purchased it. So that's kind of a history on where this is, when it was built, and the decor that is there. And to the best of all of our knowledge, it hasn't been touched since. So yes, what we have drawn up is our intent to do. I have a proposed tenant who has 30 employees to bring into Conway. It's a new company relocating here. And there are two requirements in my negotiations. One was that they had ample room for their 30 employees. The other is they wanted 30 parking spaces. And there are other locations that is their biggest issue, and therefore that was one of his stated requirements that he wanted on us. So we have designed this. The building footprint is not changing. So the parking is all existent. All of the area that you see there is either asphalt or gravel. The Merriman Street is all asphalt. Factory Street is all asphalted currently. And the sidewalk I'm proposing was just to cut out some asphalt and put in a concrete sidewalk for better mobility around the building, as well as designating a handicap entrance on it that we need. So the curb cut needed for the parking lot, that's existing. So we're really not asking to change anything other than letting us clean it up and make it more walkable and usable. The rest of the recommendations, we really have no objection to. Putting the windows and doors, getting rid of overhead doors, putting in some storefront and awnings, just like our elevations are depicted there then. So that's my only issue with it, is trying to make sure that we have ample parking to the requirement of the proposed tenant that I have. And they're waiting on our approval for that before they enter into a long-term lease to come to Conway.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak in favor? Is there anybody here to speak against it? Okay, so we will open it up to discussion between the commission. My only question I have on the parking, it says a minimum 18 and maximum of 27. Is that a city code? Where did that number come from?
Yeah, so that is based on the zoning code. However, exceptions can be issued.
Okay, and 30 parking spaces will fit, Mr. Salter? I'm sorry, do you mind coming up to the podium? Sorry.
Yes, that was our minimum requested was the 30 spaces. I think we are drawn with 33 at current time the way it is. And if we can make some adjustment, as long as I can meet the 30 spaces, I think I can make that work all right.
Okay, and that includes handicap spaces and everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I mean, I realize that 30 is the minimum, but if 33 was drawn out, it was probably for a reason. And so if it's acceptable to make a modification, it seems reasonable to propose 33, because if you have 30 employees on day one
A
and you have
visitor.
30 parking spots,
Mhm.
you don't have room for a client or a
Mhm.
customer, or, I mean, you're at capacity, assuming everyone's there on day one. So it doesn't really leave room for growth.
Could I mention one other thing?
Sure.
In that basically a 2-block radius, there is no open parking that's available. In fact, due to the time that I've had this closed, I have people in other businesses who have been parking there. So they're going to have to go, most all businesses in that area within the 2-block have their own parking, whether it be head-on parking or off-street parking. But I'm going to have to restrict this just to those working in our building at this time.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts or questions? So do you want to make the motion?
Yeah, so I move that we accept this application with the modification of number 7, where it says shall to be replaced as may, and then that we replace the maximum of 27 with 33 allowable spaces.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion?
May I add one
Yes.
thing? Okay, so that would also necessitate removing the head and parking spaces will need to be removed from Merriman because that's one of the available areas for parking.
Okay. Do we need to make any changes about angled parking versus not? The 33 that you're doing, is that angled?
No, ma'am, it's just like it's drawn as head-on parking.
Okay. We need to omit the first sentence altogether.
Now, do you think that you can do the angled parking?
There is a possibility, like I
Okay.
said, we have 33 like it is. Once you start doing your angle parking,
Mhm.
you're going to lose some. I don't know at this time until layouts are done, but I'm open to trying our best to keep us as close to 33 as possible, and try to also accommodate what your requests are there. So we'll try to make that work.
Sorry, I'm just taking notes. So we need a modification on yours.
So I move that we modify my previous motion as required by city staff to more appropriately represent the desired change.
Second.
All right. So all those in favor on that modification?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So now we have a motion on the table to omit the word shall from number 7 and change it to may need to. And then on number 11, we'll omit the first sentence completely. But on number 11, we also state from a max from 27 up to 33 with the use of angled parking if available. All right.
So
I call
move. You
Did I
called-
call for a vote?
Not yet.
Okay. Sorry.
You were talking about the motion on the floor.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right. So is that good with you, Mr. Schulter?
Yes.
All right.
That
Thank
would
you
be
very
great.
much.
Thank you for your time, Mike.
It was the first motion that threw me off.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is 2014 Washington Avenue. We'll turn it over to staff.
Okay. 2014 Washington is located in the R2 Low Density Residential District of Old Conway. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 new identical 1,855 square foot duplexes with front and rear porches. Also proposed are 4 parking spaces per duplex at the rear. The proposed driveway is asphalt. This is an infill development. The current residence was destroyed by fire and is proposed for demolition. The property was recently rezoned from R2A to R2 and is in the process of being replatted to accommodate the proposed density. The style of the proposed residence is reflective of a craftsman. The front setback is closer than the average, however, which would be 23. However, the existing condition is a front setback of approximately 12, and the applicant is proposing what appears to be between 15 and 16. So staff is, given current conditions, willing to support that setback. It meets spacing, lot coverage, orientation. For the driveway, the guidelines specifically state that asphalt is not appropriate for single and two-family residences, and therefore staff recommends that the surface material needs to be concrete, pavers, or permeable paving. Considering the density, though, staff can support a concrete drive rather than the ribbons. A sidewalk exists. There will be one significant tree will be retained in addition to other trees and shrubs being planted along the perimeter of the duplexes. It meets scale, height, width, directional expression, footprint, complexity of form, rhythm, style, and all of the materials and detailing. As I stated, it's reflective of a craftsman. And staff recommends approval of the request with the following conditions: that the applicant gets the applicable building permits. Prior to issuance of a building permit, SUB, the subdivision associated with the plat, needs to be completed with the filing of the final plat. Landscaping shall conform to that shown on the site plan. Driveway shall be concrete ribbon, pavers, or permeable paving. Asphalt is not permitted. Lighting shall be downward and inward toward the property. HVAC equipment shall be screened from public view. Addressing shall conform to that shown on the final plat. And prior to issuance of a certificate of appropriateness, applicant shall submit for review and approval a site plan showing the front property lines after right-of-way dedication and the setback between the duplexes and the property lines, depth of the front porch, and driveway composed of allowed materials.
Okay, thank you. Who's here to speak in favor of this? If you'll step up to the podium and state your name and your home address.
My name is Emily Ferris. I'm with Sowell Architects. My address is 27 Bluebird Lane in Conway. You pretty much covered it all. The house was destroyed by fire, and we're going back with 2 duplexes. I've sent all the recommendations to the property owner, and he has agreed to those. We will get you an updated site plan, but just to answer your question, as far as the porches are 15 feet deep and 6 feet wide, so plenty deep. And then also, you talked about the front setback. So you'll notice the front of the duplexes aren't parallel with the road. They're parallel with the side lot lines. So our front setback actually ranges from about 16 feet at the shortest end up to 22 feet at the top. So
Okay.
it just gets further away. So average, it might be about 20. So
Okay. All right, is there anything else for you?
I don't think so unless y'all have any questions. for
Okay.
me.
All right, so we'll open it up and see if there's anybody here to speak in favor of this project. Is there anybody here to speak against this project? Okay, so we will open it up to discussion among the commissioners for any questions or comments.
So Terry, I just want to clarify on 4 where it says shall be concrete ribbon, that addresses your commentary from earlier where they have the flexibility where it doesn't have to be ribbon. Okay.
Correct.
I assume so, but would rather ask than not.
Yeah, and I had one question which was already answered, and then my second question, the SUB-0524 that's the subdivision name?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Is that existing?
Yeah, so it's actually almost, it'll be filed shortly. It just the only, because they split the lot in order to have the 2 duplexes on 2 separate lots. And so the only thing we were waiting for was the demolition of the existing residence in order to finish off that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's occurring as we speak,
Correct.
right? Yeah. Okay. Yes, if you don't mind.
So the location of the tree is estimated right now. It's not on the survey. It looks like it may be slightly to the south side of the center. So we're going to try very hard to keep the tree, but we might have to shift the driveway a slight bit to get around it. So just so you know, I don't know that that's exactly where it is.
If it comes to a point where that tree is in the way of the driveway, do they have to come back to the city for that?
I would
Very
consider
large.
that substantially in conformance.
Okay. Curious.
As long as they're still having the driveway, we'd love for them to retain the tree.
Yeah, it's
So,
massive.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Move that we accept as proposed.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so it's passed. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to 1216 Clifton Street. We'll turn it to, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm so sorry. I was reading the wrong number. Sorry. Thank you. 1405 Hamilton Street, and you will start with the city.
The zoning for 1405 Hamilton Street is the T3 suburban transect of Old Conway. It's in the northeast Old Conway specific plan area. The applicant is proposing to add a gabled roof over an existing concrete porch pad and construct a back porch with a gabled roof. A fence is also proposed. The residence was built in 2005. It meets setbacks, lot coverage. The elements having to do with massing, such as scale and complexity of form. The porches are in conformance with the guidelines. The applicant has been informed of the manner in which the fence needs to be built and the regulations for those, and will comply. I've been informed. So staff recommends the approval of the request with the following conditions: that the applicant obtain all applicable building permits. Number 2, fencing shall be no more than 3.5 feet tall in the front yard along Hamilton Drive frontage and the secondary front yard along Spruce Street frontage. Pickets may be no more than 4 inches wide and 3 inches apart. Privacy fences shall be no more than 6 feet tall and are only allowed in rear yards. Fence may be constructed of wood, iron, aluminum mimicking iron, or composite wood-like material. Lighting shall be downward and inward toward the property, and porch roofing shall be asphalt to match existing residence.
Okay, thank you. Who's here to speak in favor? All right, if you can step up and state your name and your address.
Josh Ferguson, 1598 Hunter Lane, Conway,
1598.
5098.
Oh, 50. Okay, thank you. Okay, so do you have any questions or comments, or do you understand the?
Back porch will be a lean-to, not a gable. And no comment.
Back porch will be a lean-to.
Yeah, it's just a different style roof. But it's pictured
Oh. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments or thoughts?
I
Okay.
don't think so.
Okay.
It's about the easiest one ever.
Is there anybody here to speak in favor of this project? Is there anybody here to speak against this project? Okay, so we'll open it up to the commission for questions. My only question I had is, do we need to put a specific, like it says on the materials, no siding is proposed, porch columns appear to be wood. Do we need to actually specify that they must be made out of this material? Siding.
On the house will remain.
I'm
No,
talking
we're
about the
talking-
new columns.
Oh,
I'm thinking of what would actually not be permitted.
Yeah, I
and there
know.
isn't really, like, if you wanted to do like wrought iron, that would be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't really. What are the?
I'm thinking that we're just gonna use wood.
See,
color.
okay, okay. And that's still fine. And okay. Just
Yeah,
making
there
sure we
wouldn't be a
didn't need to.
vinyl one. Yeah,
Yeah, we're just
that's
making sure
why.
we didn't need to put it in there. Okay.
Do we have to get approval on a certain color of the exterior?
Nope.
We don't control color.
Don't control color.
Mm-mm,
Okay.
mm-mm. All right, so commissioners, any questions, comments, thoughts? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to accept as written. Don't be scared.
I motion to accept the staff's recommendations as written.
All right,
Second.
okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, there you go. Thank you, sir.
I can't have them all.
Well, we only have 4. I don't think I can even propose a motion, right?
Yeah,
So there's 3 of y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, next address is 1152 Hunter Street. We are going to turn it over to the city to discuss.
Thank you. The present zoning is planned unit development. It is in the Old Conway Overlay Suburban District in the Hendricks College Addition Historic District. It is on the, let's see. The Hendricks College Edition was listed on the National Register in 2007. The neighborhood has a series of development periods, which has led to a mix of styles, including Tudor, Prairie, Craftsman, Colonial, many different diversity of styles in the neighborhood. The applicant proposes constructing 2 new duplexes on 2 separate lots. One duplex is modeled as a prairie-style home with modern accents. The second duplex is modeled as a Tudor English cottage-style home. Each duplex includes attached garages and covered porches. An internal sidewalk system is proposed, in addition to privacy fencing, green space, and a one-way private drive. The properties were rezoned from R2A to PUD through Ordinance O-24-03. The average setback for the area is 35 feet based on 4 structures on Harkrider in the Hendricks College Edition. To meet this requirement, the applicant would need to be between 29 and 40 feet. Keeping in mind that I do measure these aerially on our GIS map. The applicant is proposing a front setback of 25 feet. Given that aerial imagery measurements are not 100% accurate and the applicant must accommodate a 20-foot driveway at the rear of the property, staff can't support the 25-foot setback. Applicant meets all other setbacks. The applicant does meet the spacing between the duplexes in that the shortest distance in the neighborhood as measured aerially is 13 feet and the largest is 132. And the applicant is proposing 12 feet between the 2 duplexes. The applicant meets the lot coverage. The lot sizes are appropriate. The applicant will need to dedicate right-of-way based upon the surveyor when they do the platting if it is determined that right-of-way is necessary. The orientation, the duplexes are oriented towards Harkrider Street, and then the orientation on the Unit 1 facing Hunter, there is a garden patio, and the facade is designed to also have an orientation towards Hunter as well. So it's not just kind of a blank wall or just a few windows. It meets the parking requirement for the PUD conditions in that each duplex has 2 parking spaces, and then there's additional parking in the driveway right behind the duplexes that does not encroach into the one-way private drive. There's sidewalks on Harkrider. There's an internal sidewalk system, and then the applicant will need to construct sidewalks on Hunter Street outside of the right-of-way. The fence will, per the PUD conditions, will actually need to be 8 feet tall rather than the 6-foot maximum that we have in the district. And tree preservation, this will need to undergo site development review, and we will need to see a landscape plan that will clearly note which trees are being retained and which ones are going to have come out to accommodate the development. It looks like there's a few that have been noted as being retained, and then we're already seeing some that will be planted. I'm recommending an additional planting. Any tree that's taken out will need to be replanted at a 1-to-1 ratio on this site. The scale of the duplexes is greater than residences along Hunter Street. Across Harkrider Street are comparable townhomes, and then Hendricks College is about a block and a half to the south. The height, it meets the height requirements of the guidelines as well as per the PUD conditions of approval. The height of the structures may not exceed 30 feet and 2 stories. And in Old Conway, we are not to have a 1-story differential between the average in the area. So most of the houses are single story. This will be 2 stories, therefore the 1-story differential. And so the proposed unit of Unit 1 is 26 feet and the proposed height of Unit 2 is 28 feet. It meets the footprint requirements, the complexity of form. As I stated, this is a prairie. One of them is prairie, one of them is Tudor, and then the design elements with that style adds to the complexity of form. It has rhythm and it meets the window requirements. And the Hendricks College Edition was listed in part due to the criterion C for architecture, having many residences that were constructed during the period of significance, 1903 to 1957. And the prairie style was popular 1900 to 1920 with Tudor 1890 to 1940. Therefore, staff finds that this complements that time frame. It meets the entries, porches, windows. One was I was not entirely sure with the Tudor, but it needs to be 6 feet deep. No lighting is shown on the elevations. The materials are appropriate. The roof style, pitch, height is appropriate, and no HVAC was shown on the site plan. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions: that applicable building permits are pursued. A landscape plan shall be submitted with the site development review application, which shows trees to be removed, trees to be retained, and the species type to be planted as permitted by the approved tree species list. Any tree removed will need to be replaced at a 1-to-1 ratio. Significant trees to be retained must be protected through fencing. Prior to issuance of a building permit, the lots will need to be platted. The rear privacy fence shall be wood, stone, brick, or material approved by planning staff prior to installation. Chain link or barbed wire is not allowed. The private access drive and driveway shall be concrete or permeable pavers. A 5-foot wide sidewalk with 6.5 feet green space is required for the Hunter Street frontage. Lighting shall be downward and inward toward the property, and HVAC equipment shall be screened from public view.
Thank you. That was a lot of work. Thank you. Who is here to speak in favor of this project? You can step up to the podium and state your name and your home address.
My name's Jason Ori, 318 South Washington, Fayetteville,
Okay.
and I approve this project.
Do you have any questions on staff recommendations or?
No, we're going to comply with all of them. We have no issue.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, then we will ask if there's anybody else here to speak in favor of the project. Is there anybody here to speak against the project? Okay. Well, then we will open it up to commission comments.
I was just curious on the mix of design. I'm assuming that was intentional. Can you help us understand the reasoning behind that?
Well, mainly it was driving around the neighborhoods and
Yeah.
seeing that there was a nice mix. And at first, when we first started talking to Tara, we had a repeat, just the same, the Tudor style. And we just thought embracing that corner would be good, giving it 2 fronts. And it just felt like the prairie. I think we were kicking around a 4 square at first. It's it's almost a hybrid. We just thought that'd be more appropriate. And plus the owners just wanted a variety.
Well, I was just going to commend y'all
Yeah.
on using the 2 different types, because the easier thing to do would be use the same, because then you have very similar plans. So kudos to you all on having that intentional thought behind the project.
Thanks. The
I agree.
repeat was due to time constraints. So once
Yeah.
we got a little bit more time, we were able to really sink our teeth into it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I appreciate just not seeing another craftsman up. I mean, I love it. So do y'all have any questions or comments?
No.
All right, then I guess I will. I do have a question. Concrete driveway. It doesn't have to be ribbon over here.
Considering the density, that seems like that might be a bit messy.
I thought so too. I just wanted to make sure.
Well, and that was a fire department requirement, the 20 foot. So they may not allow that.
Mhm.
I
don't
gotcha.
know.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. All right. Well, then I'll entertain a motion to accept with the recommendations as written.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. Well, there you go. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tara.
So that looks like it's the end of our meeting as far as what's on the agenda. Tara, do we have anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you very much for all that you do. Like, that was a lot of work, and we forget to thank you every time. So I just want to officially put it out there that we appreciate the entire staff.
Are you
So-
putting that in the minutes, or?
I am putting it in the
Okay.
minutes. But other than that, I just wanted to, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Come on, your turn.
I move that we adjourn the business